What if I told you that you could read a script for your presentation without spending hundreds of dollars on a bulky teleprompter solution like this one? And what if you could auto-advance your slides or trigger shortcuts in any other apps without touching a button? And what if you only had your laptop and you could still run a virtual teleprompter with Zoom or Teams or any other recording app without anyone seeing it? And what if you could do all of this with one piece of software? Well, stick around and I'll show you exactly how it's done in this video. This is the teleprompter screen. So this is what you'll see if you're presenting a script. When you open the app, you start in setup mode where you can add your script to the script screen here. And in your script, you have the ability to control some of the layout and formatting of the text. So if you want to highlight a word to be bold, you can do that. It uses Markdown on this script screen, but when you actually preview it or look at it in the teleprompter, it will bold the text or do whatever you're doing to the text within the teleprompter screen. So you can also do H1 through H3, which are like headers. So if you select it and make it a header, it'll show up as a header in the main text. And we also have bullet points. So you can do a bullet point, it'll show up then as a bullet point, or you can do numbered lists and it'll show up as a numbered list. So they're the basic functions for controlling the layout of the text. There's also script triggers here, which you can add to the text. That's a complicated feature that I'll explain to you later. You also can save out your scripts. You can save as many drafts as you want. It just goes as text format that you can cut and paste back into the teleprompter script screen here. The bin button here will clear the script. Search will allow you to search through for words. So if you've say written a longer script that you got in sections, you might have section headers and you could search for the section header to quickly jump between your script if you have a longer one. The full screen button here actually takes the script to full screen, so you can use it much more like a text editor if you're writing a long script and you want to do it all in here and not use a separate text editor. Moving down further, we have the text alignment, text color and font style. So this will actually change the font and text color within teleprompter. So I've selected red and now all the text is red. And you can do that at your will. There's also teleprompter theme. So theme controls what the background looks like. So by default, it's black with white text. And if you change it, you can have it so it's white and with either black or whatever color text you want. This is to help people that may not be able to see as well with a black background. They may prefer a white background, so they can choose using that feature. The countdown feature here will allow you to put a countdown before the text starts scrolling. So after you press play, you might want to get yourself organized on your seat or whatever, and that gives you a countdown. So you'll see the countdown going there. And then when it reaches 0, it'll start scrolling at that point. So if we move back now, there's lots of other features here that I'm going to cover later in the video, but a few basic ones are always on top. So that controls the screen to say this window is always going to be on top of whatever's below it. So if I'm clicking back here on PowerPoint, the teleprompter will stay on top of that, which is what you want. The prevent display sleep feature just stops the screensaver from coming on when you're in teleprompter mode. Last thing you want is to be halfway through reading a script and then the screensaver to click on. So that stops that from happening. The use system tray icon controls whether or not you get an icon down here on the normal taskbar. So if you don't want that because you're doing a screen recording and you want it to look neat, you can click the on button there and then it just moves it over onto the system tray. So we'll quickly jump into the teleprompter side now and run through it. So you'll see here on the left, there's a guideline which actually will highlight the text as it scrolls past. So guidelines usually for teleprompters get locked in the middle. So when you're using a real teleprompter, the middle will be the middle of the camera that's shooting through the teleprompter. So usually you'll want it in the middle for a normal teleprompter. But because this is mostly a virtual teleprompter, this allows you to scroll the text right to the top and have the guideline be right at the top with the eye line that's in line with where your webcam is. You can obviously control the speed that the text scrolls from very, very slow to very, very quickly, like that. And there's lots of granularity in between those. So you can really control the speed that you read the text and get it right for you, because I know that depends on the way you read as to the speed you want it to be. It also depends on the size of the text. So if you make really big text, you obviously want that to scroll faster because there's less words per line than if it was smaller. So yeah, you have a lot of control there over the size of the text. You can also turn the guideline off if you don't like guidelines. If you just want everything to be the same lightness, then you can do that. The guideline too, you can also control the opacity by right-clicking on the guideline, and that allows you to change how highlighted the text is as it goes past the guideline. The mirror text feature allows you to mirror the text. So if you're using a real teleprompter, you need to mirror the text. So when it reflects off the teleprompter, it's reflected back in the right way so you can read it. So there's two types there. There's either mirrored and reflected or just mirrored. If you click these buttons, it allows you to scroll sort of pages through your script to get through the text quickly. Playing obviously plays the scrolling, and resets it back to the start. This clock here is actually a show remaining time button. So if you press play and this scrolls at 2x speed, it's going to take 1 minute and 11 seconds to scroll through that script. So that is really useful if you are writing a script and you know that you want it to be 5 minutes long, and you put it in here and you've got it at the right speed that you normally read at, and you realize it's 8 minutes long, you've got to cut some of the text out to get it down to the level that you want it to be. So that's very useful as a countdown clock. If you click on it, it'll also move into a lapse time mode, where if you press play, it'll show you the lapse time, if that's the way you want it. If you want to reset the elapsed time, you can just right click on that and that'll reset it. Once again, you've got search. So if you want to search through to a specific line or specific word, so roadmap there, it just brings it up as the next line. You can also go to compact mode, which makes all the buttons a lot smaller and makes all this, gets it all out of your way if you don't want to see it. So that's compact mode, or you can, if you need to click the buttons with a mouse, you might want it in normal mode. Another useful feature too is if you full screen the app, you'll notice the text goes all the way along the screen, filling the entire screen. So this is not very good when you're reading a teleprompter script, because the person will actually see your eyes reading across the teleprompter. So what you want is the text to align with where the camera is behind. So you can use this tab over here to actually drag the text to align it with where the camera is. So you don't have to actually be reading all the way across the entire screen. So that's useful for controlling the way the text aligns within the actual teleprompter. So they're the basic functions of the teleprompter, and we'll move on now to some more advanced functions. So another super useful feature is this invisible in screen capture feature. So the way this works is that when I switch it on, it'll actually make the teleprompter screen, the smooth prompter window, disappear. So within a recording using like OBS or some screen recording software, or Microsoft Teams or Zoom or somewhere where you might be presenting, if you switch this on, it'll actually mean that the far end or within the recording, you won't be able to see the teleprompter at all. And this gives you the ability to just have a single laptop screen that you can run a teleprompter on. You can also run your slide pack in the background like I've got going here. And you can have those things all running at once while you're doing your recording. You can see the teleprompter, but no one else can. So I'll give you an example now, because I'm doing a screen capture right now. If I switch this on, you'll notice it completely disappears and you can now only see the slides underneath. So if I click to the next slide, it goes to the next slide, but I'm seeing the teleprompter on the screen still. So you can do this, which is super useful for if you're doing training recordings, or you're doing something, you're teaching some slide pack, or you might be demoing some software or something. You can still use the teleprompter. You might only have dot points on it Depends what you want, but it allows you to see something different than what is actually being recorded on the screen. So super useful feature. Another useful feature within Smooth Prompter is window opacity and this click-through mode. These two work in conjunction with each other. So if you want your prompter so it's not covering everything on the screen. So behind here I have a slide pack, and if I want to see through to the slide pack and not just see the teleprompter completely, you can turn that on and you can see behind it what's happening behind it as well. So I can turn that down even more if I want. If I turn it down to 50%, you can see the text behind there, but you can also still read the teleprompter as well when it's running. So that can be useful, but then also that mode in conjunction with this click-through mode, which is controlled by a hotkey, so Control-Alt-9. I've got that linked up to a Stream Deck here, so if I turn that mode on, click-through mode, I get the little icon there telling me that it's click-through mode, and what it means is if I click anywhere on the teleprompter, it actually will go straight through to the thing that's behind the teleprompter. So it's like the teleprompter is invisible now to clicks, which can be useful if you're demoing something and you just want to have, say, dot points up on the teleprompter, but you don't want it getting in the way of when you're trying to click on stuff. You can turn this mode on. So another really useful feature of Smooth Prompter is script triggers. It gives you the ability to put triggers within your script to go and tell other applications to do things as the script is scrolling. So this is really useful for things like if you've got a PowerPoint presentation and you want it to automatically change the slides for you as you're reading the script, you can put triggers into your script for doing that. So let's see how it's configured. If we jump into the script triggers dialog, we can open up and edit this T1 trigger. And so what we want that to do is to focus onto PowerPoint and then press the right arrow key, because that's how you make PowerPoint trigger to the next slide. So if it was a global shortcut key, then you don't need to actually tell it to focus on any other app. You can just do whatever the shortcut key is for it. So for example, like if you wanted to start OBS recording, you'd just go into here and you'd add whatever the shortcut keys are for triggering that in your system. So we've got now our PowerPoint trigger. So what we need to do now is put it into our script where we want it to actually execute during the running of the script. So we'll go and we'll put trigger 1 after this text here. So as it scrolls past roadmap, it'll trigger to the next slide. So let's go into our teleprompter now. And we'll see that the trigger shows up as a little pink dot here on the side. And so if you're doing a practice run of this, you may not want these to trigger. So you can click on it to mute the trigger so it doesn't work when you're doing practice runs. But then during your normal run, you might want it to actually work. So you'll turn it back on. So now when you press play, it'll start scrolling through the script. And as it passes the trigger, it'll do a little animation and then the script will change. And then you're on to the next slide and talking. If you wanted to put some buffer of timing there, you could add some extra return carriages after this before the next text starts, if you need a little bit more time for it to trigger through. And also another useful thing is that I like to use it for is to put a trigger at the start of the script that triggers recording to start within like OBS or something. And then at the very end, you can trigger it to stop recording. So to do the full recording process, that'll switch on the recording, it'll go through all your slides as you're doing the script. You just need to press the play button at that point and then focus on actually reading the script and not doing all these other things while you're reading the script. So that's script triggers, really useful feature. So now I want to give you a quick run through of how to set up Stream Deck with Smooth Prompter. I think Stream Deck works awesome with Smooth Prompter. It allows you to have all of the controls of the teleprompter on a separate piece of hardware that you can then just click the buttons to control the way the teleprompter is working. So you do this just through global shortcuts. So each of the teleprompter options has a shortcut which will control it. So Control-Alt-1 will play stop the teleprompter, for example. So if we go into the Stream Deck software, under the system functions, if you grab a hotkey function and copy it across, give it a name, play, And then the preset will be Control-Alt-1 to play and pause. You'll want to give it an icon, so you can go in and find a play pause icon. There's one there. And then that play pause icon is going to control the teleprompter. So if I find my Stream Deck now, click that button, it plays and pauses the teleprompter. So super useful feature there. It allows you to fully control all of the features. You know, you can do opacity up and down, you can do click-through mode, all from the control of the Stream Deck, which is awesome. Well, the only question that remains is, how do you get yourself a copy of Smooth Prompter? Well, you drop over to the smoothprompter.com website and you can pick it up here. It's also available on the Microsoft Store. It's available only for Windows at the moment. May come to Mac if that is desired by the Mac folks. And it's available for a very reasonable price compared to how much a regular teleprompter costs. And there may be a discount in the description below if you've made it to this video early enough. And enjoy the software, and I'll see you next time.